Greater Thoughts is also a motivational speaker and a mind coach, helping you to untrap your mind. In order to elevate your team, your organization, or your business, visit Robert Collins on theuntrappedmind.com or follow him on Instagram at greater7thoughts. That's greater, the number 7 thoughts. Robert Collins says, all success starts with a thought. Now turn that thought into action and go be great.
In the mirror, face the truth, I see the shadows play. This was about pushing my dreams away. Always creeping, got me feeling so confined. But in this journey, I'm crafting a stronger mind. Rise above the noise, let positivity reign. Each step I take, I conquer fear and pain. Greater thoughts echo through my mind. Uplifted, I soar, leaving shadows behind. Each word I speak, transforming my fate in this untrapped mind.
Good morning, good morning. It is your host, Mr. RC. Once again, you have tuned into the Greater Thoughts Morning Show. This morning, I bring somebody different. I'm changing up the pace on you guys a little bit. But before I get into that, as I say every Thursday, I must remind you that my gratitude is with you. I know that on a Thursday morning, you could be doing anything in the world with your time other than listening to me. So I thank you. My gratitude is with you. But I've changed the pace. We're going to go a little different route today. You know, usually I'm talking about what you can overcome and how to overcome it and the different trials and tribulations that we face in life, or we're talking about your thought process. But today we're going to share in the thought process of Miss Kimberly Owens, who is running for a District 6 City Council right here in the city of Charlotte. Hey, Kimberly, how are you?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm doing extremely well. Good to see you again.
It is nice to see you again. I appreciate the opportunity to talk.
No worries, no worries. You know, you're in District 6 and I'm in District 6 quite a bit, even though I live in a different district. And I know quite a bit of people in your district. And I've heard all different types of things about what's going on in your district. One of the things that's really been a hot topic amongst my friends is this thing about one house, one lot. And that's a big topic that's going on. I know that that's not necessarily city council stuff, but what is your thoughts on that?
Well, one house, one lot is, an idea that really is resonant with people who live here in District 6 and have for a long time and have never really had to contemplate what growth and what success looks like. Like, we all want the fancy new stores. We all want access to excellent entertainment. We all want top-notch education and smart, talented people moving to our city until it starts to affect us. You know, every time we want those things, we are suggesting out to the universe, you know, hey, bring it. We need more people. We need more this and that. Well, that all comes with a cost. And the cost of that is borne by our infrastructure. The cost of that is borne by our relationship with real estate. You know, the three largest, I'm trying to think who I heard say this, but it was so resonant with me. I think it was Lawana Mayfield. The three largest owners of property in Charlotte are cemeteries, churches, and CMS. Okay, we've got limited opportunities. You're not going to be able to just create out of whole cloth land. Yeah. So, you know, we've got to look at those creative ways that we are adding density, decreasing sprawl. We all understand that our environment is affected by what we do. I think that's understood by most now. And we got to do our part in increasing the density in our lived spaces in a way that minimizes burden but maximizes societal benefit is something that we have to get our minds around. Now, what it means in various circumstances, you know, it depends on the community. I think the character of a community is also something that's important. So there's always a balancing act. Balance between benefit and burden, and balance between, you know, whatever societal good is being met by what we're doing.
Yes, that's good. That's good. So I see I jumped right in on it with
you.
You
did,
right?
You did,
right?
Man.
But you know what I want to do? I want to take it back a step. Let me be fair to you. Where are you from?
I am from Illinois.
What part?
I am, embarrassingly enough, from a sundown town in central Illinois. It is between Peoria and Pekin, and it is called Marquette Heights. And I don't know if you know much about.
That's cornfields.
That is cornfields. Now soybeans alternating with cornfields, but soy and corn.
That's off of 55?
Yeah. Off of I-55. Yep.
And how long you been in Charlotte?
So I moved to North Carolina in 1991. I moved to Charlotte in 1994. And I'd only been in Charlotte one other time, and that was for the job interview for the job that I came for.
And you live in District 6 now?
I do live in District 6.
And you have children that were raised in District 6?
I do. I've got 3 sons. My oldest is almost 25, and my twins are going to be 23. And yeah, they were all born in District 6 and went to school there, went to Old Providence Elementary, and then Randolph Middle School, and then Myers Park High School.
Okay, sweet.
And then they're Tar Heels now, or
okay, Tar Heels
graduates now.
Okay, yeah. Even better.
They're all out.
They're out of mama's pocket.
Yeah, well, yes. Ish.
Ish. There you go. So tell me, what makes you want to run?
I have had such opportunities here. That small town in Illinois is a pretty big leap from where I am right now in terms of the size of the city, in terms of the lifestyle that I lead, and the number of things that I've been able to have opportunity to do in a city of this size, in a city of this growth. From the physicians I'm able to see to, just myriad possibilities of sporting teams and clubs that my kids took part in. Like, all those things exist in a Charlotte because we've grown. All those opportunities. I would have had none of those if I had stayed in Illinois. And the part that is probably most vexing to me is I want to share that opportunity and that promise with other people. But Charlotte is just not affordable. I mean, I'm excited beyond belief that at least 2 of my kids want to move back to Charlotte after graduation. They can't afford to do so. They're in their high school bedrooms. My mom is up in that small town up in Illinois, and it has suffered mightily under repeated economic problems, and it's a blighted area in a lot of respects. And you see the lack of physicians, the hospitals closing, the restaurants that close off part of their chain, and they happen to do it right through that area. You see the boarded up businesses. You see that degree of failure, and the opposite of a dynamic, growing city. And I don't want that for Charlotte. Not that we're close to that, but when I do hear people say, why are all these people moving here? Can't we just shut down? Can't we just put a pause on development? And I think, no, you don't want that, because I've seen what that looks like. I've lived what that looks like. I've tried to accomplish for family members things where resources are no longer there because the numbers just don't merit it. So, again, with all things, there's trade-off. And I want to be part of that. I want to be part of that discussion.
So you just put a whole lot out there.
Yeah.
So let me ask you this.
I get in my feels with this stuff.
Yeah, but you said something that hit a couple of buttons, and I'm gonna dive right into it.
Yeah, let me have it.
You said you're from a sundown town.
I am.
So someone that hears that, that's on the other side of the sundown, how should they view you?
They should view me as someone who has consistently chased opportunity to grow. One of the biggest things that got me out of that environment, I was an exchange student for a year to Europe with Rotary Youth Exchange. And because of that, I've volunteered for the last 20 years giving back to that program and hosting exchange students and just doing these things, because it was so eye-opening to me to be outside of that closed environment and to see a world that was so much bigger than I ever had any reason to know it would be. It was transformative, absolutely transformative. And so I would hope that they would see in me somebody who has done those things to meet people. My children and I were in Tanzania a couple years ago to climb Mount Kilimanjaro, and
nice.
We learned Swahili for a year coming up to it. Now, don't quiz me because I have to have my flashcards, but like we have gone, and I personally have gone out of my way to do the things that I think add a human touch to interactions. And we had the best trip because we were able to show respect to our porters, and we were able to communicate and just really experience it. I've traveled to, I think, 32 countries now through my work and otherwise. I've had a wealth of experiences that have so far taken me out of that sundown town in ways that informed how I raised my kids, informed who I married, my second husband is African American. He's not that comfortable going to my hometown, just gonna be honest.
Yeah.
And we've experienced, I was saying this to somebody the other night. My dad was really sick before he died, and so we had home health care. This woman's name was Lakeisha, and she drove over from Peoria into this little area where I live. And my mom and dad started noticing, she came 3 days a week to help with his dialysis. And they started noticing that she was routinely getting stopped for like little BS things, like a tail light or, just checking whatever in this little town. And my mom said something to me, and I'm like, oh my God, are you kidding me? And she's like, no, it happens. And, we're so afraid we're going to lose her because, the juice isn't going to be worth the squeeze to come here to see your dad. And your dad absolutely loves her. She's, my dad was such a pain about it, his veins and all that. It was just, she was very skilled at what she did, and we really wanted to keep her. So I picked up the phone, and it's amazing sometimes just, being honest with people.
Yes.
I called up the police department there in this little burg of a town where I live. And I just said, I explained what my mom had told me. I said, I just can't think in this year that would possibly be true. Right.
Right.
And it doesn't make sense to me. And I'm down here in the South, and even we're not like that. I just really played it up. And he's like, oh, no, ma'am. No, ma'am. And lo and behold, she never got stopped again. Do I know that that's, is correlation causation? I don't know.
Right.
But like, that is still that place. And I wonder who I would be if I'd stayed there.
Well, I'm glad you're not the same person that you could have turned into.
Yeah. I mean, I was never, just to be fair, but just, you just kind of open the aperture a little bit.
But the thought process is guilty by association and a lot of things.
Fair enough.
But let me ask you this. Being that you're from that smaller town, and you're talking about the growth that is going on here in Charlotte, how do you plan to use that to your benefit from seeing one side to the other side in running?
So I think the small town, the small town background is helpful on a lot of levels, because I think I can reduce my thought processes to the things that, really made me feel safe and joyful growing up as a kid. I always look at it through like, what is the lived experience of the kids in our community? What are they experiencing with all this growth and everything? And what opportunities, I was saying to somebody earlier around transit, what opportunities are kids not getting that I just took for granted because, my mom was home in the afternoons, or I just took for granted because I could safely run a couple blocks up the street to the ball field, or, so some of that small town charm people are able to get in big cities. You have to be intentional about it. And what I'd like to do is make those opportunities available for everybody, so everybody can have access to the things that make this feel like home, so that everybody can have opportunities to experience, other lives lived just by the virtue of our diverse neighbors. I want to look at what a future looks like where we do have, a small town pride in this big city. That's if that makes sense. Like, makes sense. Yeah. I don't know. It sounds kind of goofy. Like, I don't want everybody to be all, segregated. Definitely we need to get beyond that, and to places where we really are using this amazing city to our best advantage.
Well, since you're a Democrat,
I am indeed.
Why should District 6 bring another Democrat in, or a Democrat in?
So let me turn the question on you. Why should District 6 have yet another Republican?
That's a good question.
What has having a Republican in this seat for the last however many decades really done for Charlotte? I hear the argument made both by the Observer and by my opponent.
You can't steal my questions.
No, I'm sorry.
I'm going back to the Observer.
You can go back to that.
That's coming up.
That's coming.
So hold that one, and then we're going to go to it because I'm going to ask you about that.
Okay, I'll hold it. But anyway, both of those have said we need to have another Republican because, we need this relationship with Raleigh. Well, I keep waiting, and I have yet to see that manifest. So what is electing a Republican going to do? Coupled with the fact that this particular Republican has no history of relationships up there other than perhaps personal. She's never served in any capacity. Her husband has now left the Trump administration. So I don't know if he still is in good graces. I don't know what we're getting from just electing another Republican. for the sake of electing a Republican. I don't see that. I also patently reject a premise that only Republicans can keep people safe. That is a talking point that we've heard, particularly since Irina Zaruska's murder, is that Republicans are safety focused, and darn it if we're just going to give away the farm if we elect another Democrat. I reject that. It's all well and good to have goals for public safety. You got to have ideas, and you got to have the skill set necessary to get those ideas passed. Now, why elect another Democrat? I don't really care if you elect another Democrat. I'm just being honest. I am a Democrat. I am the right person for this seat. But at the end of the day, is the world going to change if after 20 years or 50 years or however many years this has been held by a Republican? I mean, it's not a narrative that I buy into, because I don't think it serves the people at all. I don't think the people care one whit whether we've got Republicans and Democrats and who gets the W's and who gets the losses. I don't think people care. I think people want stuff taken care of. They want their tax dollars going for things that they support and that make life just a little bit better in Charlotte. I don't think party affiliation does a darn thing for anybody.
I don't disagree. Sometimes I wish that we can just get rid of all parties and everybody just be independent, the whole country, and we just go vote who's the best person, right? And
I don't disagree, but
that
people got to lean in.
That would never happen.
Yeah.
Never happen.
Well, people got to lean in. I mean, I think people will come up with a proxy for whatever value set they feel most closely aligns with their ideology, and then they'll label it something else, and then they'll be purity. I mean, I think we'll just mess it up again. Like, I don't know that there's any solution to that. Yeah. You just got to function for the people.
That's good. You mentioned doing the things that are best for the people. And it makes me think about how this city is really kind of split up. It's not just only Democratic and Republican, but it's just a lot of mess going on. And for you as a person that's running, being that you get elected, you're now going to have a chance to sit with the city manager every month. You're going to have a chance to sit with the mayor every month. How do you plan to build, facilitate, and grow on those opportunities?
I think the best approach that I would bring from my career and from my candidacy for office is just a sense of curiosity. I am not wedded to any particular way of doing things. I've had myriad experiences throughout my career where you continue to do the same thing you've always done, and because circumstances have changed, it eventually works out. It's not a great way to do business, but sometimes, the things that we've tried in the past, it's a new day and age, and maybe it'll work this time. But I've also been in situations where it made all the sense in the world to completely abandon what we had been doing just because it was familiar, was no reason to continue, and to do an about face and change course. So I'm excited about what possibilities remain for Charlotte. Some of the businesses who may want to come here, or some of the conferences, or what all we can bring here for people and what all we can do for them. So I'm excited about that. And so curiosity and excitement are really what I'm going to bring in the immediate. I think my skill set will be useful. I look very, very forward to working with the new city attorney, introducing myself not as a competing lawyer on the dais, but just as somebody who understands the tugs and pulls of, doing what is, legal versus what is within the shadow of what the expectations are of the people, and balancing the need for some degree of privacy when you're making decisions, particularly if it has to do with a development and your leverage is that discretion. I understand those things, and that you can't always tell everybody everything in the moment it's happening.
That's good. That's important. So let me see if I can get you to tell something in the moment that is happening.
Okay, where are we going?
Talk about tax dollars. Mm-hmm. The big thing in Charlotte right now is transportation tax.
It is.
Are you willing to share how you vote on that?
Yeah, I will.
And the reason why?
Yeah, I'm very comfortable sharing it. I've seen other folks running who have been a little bit cagier about what they felt and are basically saying, I'm on the fence or I'm in the middle. I had some reservations about it. I got over those through a couple of different opportunities to engage with people who had really thought on the issues, and I voted for it. I voted for it because I think it's best for District 6, best as compared to not doing it, not as compared to over other areas of the city. I think it has implications for other areas of the city that give those voters a different lens and a different comfort, and their vote will reflect that. I think people who've really been overpromised and have not achieved the benefit of those bargains, I think they're frustrated. I think they're going to vote it down. Again, for District 6 to get people to and from a district that is notoriously expensive, to have a workforce who wants to and absolutely makes this area hum, it's important that they have some transportation. So I did vote for it.
So let me ask you this. District 6 or District 7, I don't know which one, has the higher median income.
Mm-hmm.
But how do you, or do you have any thought process on how you plan to work with the other districts that don't have the income? You're talking about the transportation and getting people in. And I know you work, and I'd like you to share too with that. I know you work with a lot of different organizations and or have, you know, and would still do too, if I'm right.
Yeah, nonprofits.
Yes. How do you plan to work with other districts to help people? You know, here's something that I was having a conversation with one of my friends about a little while back. He was taking his kids out of school to take them to another country. And he was like, they could just miss a week. And I'm like, just a week, huh? And he was like, yeah. You know, there's a lot of education in leaving home and going somewhere else. Well, there are people in the city of Charlotte that don't travel in the South Park area.
Right.
You know, they just don't see the benefits, or they don't have the means in the sense of transportation or the affordability to shop in the South Park Mall. What do you plan to do to work with other districts to get more people to visit this district that are right here?
No one has ever asked me that question. I want to be very thoughtful in my response. As you were describing that people don't come and experience South Park from other parts of the city, I will say that there are people in South Park who do not experience anything but South Park.
Very true.
You know, there are folks for whom the skipper is their primary transportation. The restaurants that are on that route, and the shops and the grocery stores and all variety of social life is within their reach. Part of the reason they don't do that is because they don't feel safe in other parts of the city. And I really want to work on that.
You don't think that has something to do with Republican and Democrat?
I don't know what all it has to do with. I mean, I think I've talked to people on both sides of the issue. I know I've talked to people who support me, and I've talked to people who I just intuited from the rest of their conversation they probably support my opponent. So yeah, I think I've talked to people on both sides who feel as though Uptown, particularly post-pandemic, is maybe grittier and a little bit scarier, or a little bit less comfortable and known. I think some people don't like driving at night and don't like driving on these roads, and experiencing congestion of Uptown is very overwhelming, particularly after a certain age and a certain comfort with, you know, being out at night. So, I mean, there are people, to come back around to your question, yes, there are people who do not experience South Park, but there are also other areas of this city that I would love my District 6 folks to be equally comfortable going in and out of, and highlighting so many neat things that Charlotte has. You know, when they've got visitors, I want them to be comfortable taking them uptown to a show. When they've got visitors, you know, the new Excelsior that's, you know, being done, and they want to go see a concert or something there. I want all avenues of this city to be available to all of us. And currently, through actual or perceived risk of you know, crime, people are not doing that. Or in the example you gave, through not feeling welcome, or not feeling as though there are stores that, you know, are anything other than, you know, the top of the line stores in District 6. I mean, I guarantee you, there's a couple of consignment stores, and like I can show you District 6. Like, it's not just South Park. South Park is a unique and lovely experience, but it is not the entirety of District 6. So yeah, there are places I would welcome to show people and highlight the charm of District 6.
That's good. That's good. I don't want our show to end today without you telling people how to find you?
So I am at Owens for City Council. Yes, Owens for citycouncil.com. It took me a second. Yeah, so I'm on socials as well. I'm very excited to be out at the polls. I'm greeting in the mornings and in the afternoons. People can come say hi and talk to me. People who are on the fence about issues can give me a call. One of the things that if I win, I want to continue to do is to have these Friday morning coffees that I've been doing all over District 6, different coffee shops all over. And I just show up for 2 hours and I, work on either my thank you notes or, whatever I've got to work on that day. And then people just come up and they talk. And I want to continue to do that. And quite honestly, I'd like to continue to do it, win or lose. Because if I lose, this won't be the only time you see me.
Well, I hear that you also plan to keep going to the Sarah Stevenson's Tuesday morning forum.
I do.
Is that a confirmed thing now?
That is a confirmed thing. I gotta be real on that. I have learned so much and have experienced such pride of engagement. Like this group of people who are just dialed the heck in on national, state, and local issues sufficient to really hold somebody accountable and ask them a question. It's almost what I miss out of the media. It's this room of people, it's this gauntlet of people who know a lot about a lot of things.
Yes.
And they're going to hold you to task. And again, the journalism used to do that.
Used to. Speaking of journalism, before our time ends, we have about 4 minutes left. The Observer.
Yes.
they didn't give you their hand.
They didn't give me the ultimate nod. However,
so how do you feel about that? In 4 minutes, tell me how you really feel.
How I really feel. So
how does Kimberly feel?
Kimberly was disappointed because Kimberly is an intense glass half full optimist type person. So even though I'd been prepared by everyone who talked to me that I was not going to get it, that because of Bokhari's, name recognition and because, the Observer wanting to endorse a couple of Republicans to sort of, make their case for bipartisanship, that I would be sort of a sacrificial lamb on that.
Okay.
And that regardless of my skills, regardless of how the interview went, regardless of all that, I couldn't get it. So I've been told all of that, but still hope springs eternal. And I was like, yeah, but but I'm me. Like, come on, they're gonna see.
Come on,
they're gonna see the
come
skills.
on, Kimberly.
Like, come on, they're gonna see it. But they didn't see it. However, if you read the endorsement, I'd almost rather have the language that I got than the endorsement itself, because the language that I got was very affirming of the positions that I felt. It said, Kimberly Owens, a Democrat and a lawyer, and it said Krista Bokhari, a Republican and wife of Tariq Bokhari. Like the feminist in me was incensed on her behalf, because surely you could have said something other than that she is just the wife of somebody who used to be a council member. And I felt kind of bad for that. So I was like, ooh, I wish they hadn't done that. And then they call her out on the National Guard thing. They call her out on, retweeting or reposting the FOP's call for the National Guard in Charlotte.
And you do not agree with the National Guard coming to Charlotte?
I 100% do not agree with the National Guard coming to Charlotte. 100%. They are not a civilian police force. They should not be going unless it is at the behest of a state's governor. They should never be deployed into an American city unless it is requested.
So not just Charlotte, but any city.
Any city, including sweet Chicago.
That's where I'm from. So I agree with that 100%.
I went to college up there, so
yes,
yeah.
Yes. Let me tell you, this has been a great time. I'm happy
Thank you for having
to
me.
spend it with you. And I would like to ask you one more question.
Sure.
Just one thing that you get to change in your time when you're elected, what would it be?
Housing. I want people to be safe and be able to prosper. And I don't know how we get there without having a bed for everybody. We have to address our housing needs. And we have to address our mental health needs. We just got to do better by each other. At the end of the day, that's all I got. We have to do better by the people. We're all human.
That's great. Before we leave, I got to tell you one more thing.
What's that?
All success starts with a thought. Take those thoughts, turn them into action, and go be great. Thank you for your time. God bless.
Thank you.
In the silence of the night, when doubt creeps in, I hear that whispering voice pulling me from within. The weight of the world tries to break my soul, but I rise from the ashes, determined and whole. With every step